other big story that we are going to want to discuss today is the fact that that juvenile gang rapist is going to be walking out. He's going to be walking free. And that is something that Jyoti's parents have been extremely upset about. They've been protesting all through the day, saying that they are not getting justice. And now on the big fight, we would like to turn our attention to that as well. Let me go across to Tanima, who's been there with Jyoti's parents earlier in the day. Tanima, why don't you tell us what's happening out there? I still believe there are a lot of very upset people around you, and the parents really, really disheartened, almost dismayed at the fact that this particular person is going to be walking scot-free tomorrow.
That's right. In fact, it's been decided by the High Court that there will be no interference in his release. We have some of these people who have been protesting outside that correction home where the juvenile has already been shifted because of security concerns. Why were you outside the correction home today? He's already been shifted from there. The High Court said it's not going to intervene. It cannot order for the juvenile stay to be continued over there. Why were you outside the correction home?
See, the High Court has has refused to put a stay on the continuation of the juvenile's arrest. But the government still has a lot of means. The government still can take some action. So all we want to show is that the youth of the country is really angry on this. And the youth of the country wants the government to take some corrective measures.
There were a lot of women protesters over there. In fact, several young women, articulate young women like you, who were basically saying that you feel in a way cheated that the parliament has not yet been able to pass the Juvenile Justice Act, the amendments in the Juvenile Justice Act.
Exactly. See, what I really fear for is the next morning when I'm going to wake up and my mom, she'll be really feared to send me outside. She'll be very afraid to send me outside because when she knows a juvenile can be, like sent out of the jail or can be released out of the jail so easily by just a sentence of 3 years, irrespective of the fact that the rapist, they pull out your intestines. So I don't know, like I myself fear traveling in any public transport. How do I know that if that guy is not sitting right next to me?
Right. So that's some of the concerns, in fact, that a lot of people were voicing today. Let's just listen in quickly to what Nirbhaya or Jyoti Singh's mother actually had to say at that protest outside the correction home.
प्रधानमंत्री जी पूरे विश्व का भ्रमण करते हैं, कहते हैं कि हम देश का विकास कर रहे हैं। आज इसी देश में इसी रोड पे महिलाएं मरती हैं, बच्चियां मरती हैं, लेकिन कोई कानून नहीं होता। जब कुछ भी घटना होती है तो सब अपना बयानबाजी करते हैं कि ये बदल जाएगा। आज 3 साल हमने इंतजार किया, हर दर पे जाके हाथ जोड़ी, लेकिन लास्ट में क्या सरकार और कानून हाथ उठा दिया कि मेरे पास कोई कानून नहीं है। और बलात्कारियों को रिपोर्ट कार्ड पकड़ा दिया कि तुम बलात्कार करो और जेल में आओ, हम तुमको मशीन देंगे, पैसे देंगे और एक कमेटी बना के तुम्हारी सुरक्षा करेंगे।
All right, very, very clearly upset mother of Jyoti and perhaps understandably so, waiting for justice all this time. And I guess the big question that has to be asked is that they have to wait in a case where there's been so much attention, what's going to happen elsewhere. Nishta Gautam is joining us now, academic at the Delhi University. In a couple of minutes, we'll be joined by KT's Tulsi and Vinod Tikku as well. Your take on what's happening out here and the fact that the juvenile is actually going to walk out.
I think there's no way that we can stop that release, right? Because the law of the land is taking its course. I mean, as per the law, the juvenile needs to be released. And the amendment which was proposed last year, if it becomes the law, even then it won't apply retrospectively. Everybody's upset. I was there at the protest in December 2012. It upsets me greatly to see the mother being so disgusted by the entire system. But the point is that things need to change. If
you look at what's happening, we've been actually after this, if you study what happens across the world, there are many cases where relatively young people, younger than he was when he committed this crime, he was just a few months short of 18. You've had in the US and the UK, all across Europe, children who are 15 years, 16 years, sometimes even 14 years, who've actually had much harsher, much more serious punishment because there's been a genuine concern as to whether they continue to pose a danger. That's not yet happening in India.
That is not happening, but as I saw the bill, the amendment, 16-year-olds will now be tried as as adults if they commit adult crimes, because what we are doing here is that we are just making it into a very emotive issue that this one person should not be released. I think that is a bit unrealistic. It will, it does not stand
it's
the
been,
test.
I mean, our friend Subramaniam Swamy, who's actually seems to be the main person in the news, or the person who's behind this particular case as well.
He's everywhere.
Yeah, he's everywhere. He's behind this particular case also. But, and I know Maneka Gandhi said that, if the Juvenile Justice Act had been passed in Parliament, something that this government have gone free. Well, in the sense that obviously it couldn't have been retrospectively applied in his case, but maybe it would have, could it perhaps have had a different outcome? Would more serious efforts have been made to try and keep him inside?
I have no sympathy for this person and for the juvenile, and I believe he continues to pose a danger to society. Having said that, the law is the law. The law doesn't always conform to our sense of justice. The law doesn't always conform to our sense of closure.
So you're
the
saying
law
that
is the law.
You're saying that in a sense that by the spirit of the law he has to be allowed to walk out tomorrow, but it's not necessarily
By
justice.
the letter of the law, I would say he has to be
By
allowed
the
to
letter
walk
of the law, he has to be
I think
released,
he has
but
to be
not-
allowed to walk out. I think that you can't keep him back, but certainly he should be monitored, he should be tracked. If electronic tracking of this person is possible, that should also be done, but you can't keep him beyond his sentence.
Okay, Pawan Khera, I mean, what I was saying about in other countries, that, and sometimes people go completely off the rails, which is why you do have to worry about the protection of children, because I mean, we just heard the case in the US where a 12-year-old boy, of Indian origin, was locked up for 2-3 days because he was joking about having a bomb. So obviously that's crazy also.
Vikram,
Having said that, somebody who's 17 and a half, who gang rapes somebody, tortures her, mutilates her, murders her in the most savage
But if you have
fashion,
a law which
he's not
says
necessarily
what it does, what do you do?
Yeah, so
fair
law-
enough. I agree with Ashok. Courts are also bound by law, but governments and the political. This morning I did a Twitter poll. Who failed Nirbhaya? The options were the political class, society, media. 3-4 options. The maximum votes are for the society. So it's all political class has to respond to the ever evolving social requirements.
Okay, but what,
Now, sorry, we've all failed her in the sense that this law should have been passed in 2000. Why was the age increased from 16 to 18? Why weren't we on the threshold of a social media revolution?
Actually, that's a relevant thing. If in 2000 it hadn't been changed, then he would have been punished.
Exactly.
It would have been 16.
So that's the first
Yes.
thing to look at. KTS Tulsi, let me just come and ask you, specifically on the case of this person, because very high emotions have been running all through the day, somewhat overtaken by what's been happening in Patiala House and National Herald, but very strong emotions all during the day. You heard what Jyoti's mother was, the sense that of anger, of grief, of lack of justice that she was expressing. What is your take? You think it's correct that he is walking out free tomorrow?
Of course, that's the law. And the courts also, as well as the society, must cooperate with upholding the law. The law must stand up to public opinion if it is contrary to the letter of the law. And that's what the courts are doing. I'm very sad about some of the media channels building up this hysteria as if a crime is being committed and not understanding the manner. This is not even release. This is mere restoration of a person, of a juvenile, of an erstwhile juvenile who is now an adult back into the society. And for that, the law requires, Rule 17 of the Juvenile Justice Rules, they require that there should be a pre-release plan, and pre-release plan must have been in operation for almost a year. And he must have been regularly examined by psychologists, psychiatrists, and his mental health, his attitudes, and also must have been inculcated into some
Tulsi,
skill.
if I could play devil's advocate
by
out
which,
here, but you're
he
saying
can
why
get
are
an
the
employment, then there is post-release plan.
Okay, Mr. Tulsi, if I could just ask you now, you're saying why
Yes.
is the media, whipping up hysteria around this particular case? Look, you're correct that the spirit of the letter of the law is being followed in this particular case, and I don't think anybody can question that yes, as per the letter of the law, he should walk out tomorrow. I think the broader question that we are asking right now, and I want to get your take on that, is at the end of the day, though, even if the letter of the law is being followed, is justice being done? Because He was a few months short of being 18 when he committed one of the most brutal and heinous of crimes. Somebody who at 17 and a half can gang rape a woman, mutilate her, torture her, murder her in the most brutal manner as possible, and it's not yet 100% crystal clear that he's exhibiting any remorse or that he's really sorry for himself or that he's been reformed. That man is coming out tomorrow. So that's why I think the media is questioning this, that yes, the letter of the law is being honored, but is it really justice?
Vikram, I don't know whether you have heard the kind of hysteria which certain channels have built up.
I'm not defending other channels. I'm just questioning you
on the receiving end in those channels also.
No, I'm not questioning other channels or not defending what somebody is doing or not doing. I'm just asking you a simple question that at the end of the day, sometimes you can say that sometimes you can have somebody who gets a punishment and you say it's as per the letter of the law, but you say, well, maybe we've been a bit unfair out here. Or as in this case, somebody is getting out as per the letter of the law, but people may feel that this is not quite fair what is happening. So I'm trying to get your sense of that.
I can say that there is no such thing as perfect justice. There is no judgment on which there is complete unanimity. Some people think the sentence is too harsh, others may think it's too mild. But it is actually just the wisdom of the judge, and wherever there is discretion. In this case, there is not even a discretion with anybody, and so long as there is a pre-release plan and post-release plan according to which he is being restored back in the society, and then there is individual care plan which is made by experts. So let us trust the experts to have examined him and taken into account all kinds of eventualities.
Okay, Nishat, we can get your take on this,
Yeah.
Then the others want to join us also.
To have taken a sound decision.
All right, Nisha.
Vikram, I just wanted to throw some light on the NCRB data. There has been a spike in crimes committed by the juveniles, and especially against women. The crime against women, 188% jump in that. Times are changing. The law needs to change. There is a study, when organized crime is studied internationally, the gangs, they prefer recruiting underage, minors and juveniles so that they can go scot free. They have this idea that they will,
So to fix that, in a general sense, the Juvenile Justice Act needs to be passed, and maybe Parliament should think about doing that really, really fast if Parliament can function some point, hopefully from Monday. But on this particular case, perhaps there is no clear remedy. But we'll take this a little forward, continue this discussion just in a couple of minutes. We're going to take a very quick break and we'll be back to take a look at this. What, by the way, do all of you think? At the end of the day, as Mr. Tulsi was saying, public opinion doesn't really matter. The letter of the law will have to be followed in this case. But I'd be fascinated to know what all of you think about this. So do send in all of your comments also as we go into this break. Welcome back to The Big Fight, and Shazia Ilmi now joining us, spokesperson of the BJP. But Shazia, we just heard a short while back Rajiv Shukla saying that GST is not going to be passed in this session of Parliament. Perhaps hope still springs eternal for the Juvenile Justice Act. I wanted to get your sense, Shazia, on the fact that the juvenile gang rapist in the Jyoti case is being released tomorrow, is going to be walking out. Now, yes, as per the letter of the law, as Mr. Tulsi was telling us and others were saying, it's as per the letter of the law. But at the end of the day, what is your take on it?
Yes, and I would like to offer more than my spin, because this is something that one feels very strongly about. I do not agree with Mr. Tulsi at all that public opinion does not matter. Laws are not cast in stone. Laws are also not a straight line. It seems very difficult to understand and comprehend for anybody that if you're under 18, you can go scot-free for the same crime, and if you're over 18, you'll get either the gallows or life imprisonment. And juvenile is what juvenile does. So instead of looking at just the age, in a country like ours, where verification of age certificates are prone to be fudged, and they happen all the time. We are taking the 8th so seriously as to really make a mockery of the justice system as it should be. Laws are for people. People have to endure the laws, the enforcement and lack of it. So they're not for experts. So I think now, having seen that the juvenile crime has gone so much overall, not just against women, but also where thefts are concerned and other crimes are concerned, I think it's imperative that we all look at it. And I think the will of the individual is important. It's very unfortunate. You mentioned GST, and I think that's important. But something like this, imagine for that woman, Asha ji, who lost her daughter to such brutality, that all we could have done is just given some peace to her by at least ensuring that such a cruel monster, who was not juvenile at all in his thoughts and actions, has gone scot-free. I think we have to do something in these heinous, viscerally cruel cases. There has to be an exception.
Mr. Tulsi, Shazia says there should have been an exception in this case.
All
right. So let me ask Mr. Tulsi. Shazia is saying there should have been an exception in this case. This is an exceptional case. There should have been an exception made. What could have been done, if anything? Mr. Tulsi, I don't think he can hear us very clearly. So let me just come to all of you. Could anything have been done?
No, I don't know. Under the existing law, certainly not. I'm sure. I mean, I'm not a lawyer. I don't understand law that much. But I'm told by experts that under the existing law, nothing much could have been done. Having said that, I think all of us, activists included.
You heard Dr. Swami charging he's been radicalized and therefore he could have been kept under some other
well,
charge.
I don't want to comment on Dr. Swami because
especially today you don't agree
no,
with
not just today. I've never let's not talk about him and digress from the issue. The issue is, I think activists and political parties and all of us should have certainly got down together and done something about it. Courts, what? I don't know.
I'm trying to ask you what, because if he's walking,
I remember the
question
Verma,
many people are going to be asking that, well, what could have been done?
I think what you can do,
if anything, I don't think the rest of us being able to find what could have been done.
The government and the police local to wherever he's going to live in UP or Delhi, wherever he's going to live, should come up with an announcement saying he is free, but he is going to be monitored, he is going to be tracked, he is going to report to local police.
Should his name be made public?
He's under watch.
So should his name be made public?
Sorry,
this is something else.
Absolutely. I am sorry, I feel very strongly about it. He certainly should be. The victim's name is made public.
It should be made public.
The parent's name is made public. Why shouldn't his name and face be
he's a mature person now. He's an adult now.
Absolutely.
Vikram, there's one thing.
Along with his family's name.
We seem to have forgotten the Uber case. The biggest lacuna that had come out in the public domain was that the checks, the verification checks were not carried out with dexterity. There were police lapses in verification, which is why a history sheeter, this guy had a criminal record. He was the Uber driver, the serial offender, and yet, he could.
So you're saying this man should be monitored?
This man should be monitored.
Mr. Tulsi, let me get you in on the point that, first of all, do you think his name should be made public? Is that against the law, against the rules, against the whatever? That if the Jyoti's parents were saying that we can name our daughter, why should this person be allowed to have his name kept secret? People should know who he is and what he did.
I don't think he can.
Are you asking me?
Yes, Mr. Tulsi, I'm asking you. Oops. Just on that moment, Mr. Tulsi, goes away. So, Shazia, let me get you back on the naming of this particular person.
Vikram, again it goes, yes. Vikram, the main problem here is because under the Act as it exists now, this I want to call him a monster or a rogue or anything, but not a child or a minor, I don't feel like, is because he's underage, his name can't be revealed. And there is a distinction between minors and adults, and as they are, because of which we can't name him and shame him. Of course, a victim was, I want to call the victim a survivor, but of course, Nirbhaya did not survive the bestiality that was meted out to her. But the victim's name has to be kept secret and should not be revealed out the family, the whereabouts. Okay. But the perpetrator, if it's not a minor, the name can be given out.
Okay,
in this case, again,
let me check this with Mr. Tulsi one more time and see if that link is working. Mr. Tulsi,
his deeds were not that of a minor, and that is what I want to contest.
Okay, Mr.
Yeah.
Tulsi, now can I ask you that question, that is it
So the quantum
is it
of punishment
correct, is
should
it
relate
allowed,
to
is
the
it
nature of
permissible to
crime
name,
and not
to
the
name
age.
the rapist? In the juvenile who's walking free, can he be named
The
now?
former juvenile.
He's not a juvenile anymore, so now can he be named?
No, he cannot be named. He cannot be named because at the time when he committed the offence, he was a minor. He was a juvenile, and therefore, despite the fact that he has been tried and he has done three years of children's home, it's not deemed to be a conviction. It does not disqualify him for all the civic duties or the civic rights. And if he is named, there could be danger to his life. As a rule, you cannot disclose the name of a juvenile who is being restored back in society. If people get to know, he will never get assimilated in this society. The whole purpose is to convert him into a law-abiding, responsible citizen.
Okay.
And everything that is required to be done for that purpose has got to be adhered to.
But
Right,
sir,
but
he's not
Ashok-
shown any remorse whatsoever. What makes you think he won't be a threat?
I mean, do people have, I think what Shazia is
No,
asking
no.
is, do people
He
have a
can
right
be
to be
effectively
warned if he is
monitored.
not showing remorse, he is a potential threat to somebody else or a danger, unless then there is some way of monitoring him or watching him to make sure he doesn't attack somebody else.
There is always monitoring. He is periodically examined. He has to report, and not only that, if he that he may not report, he will be effectively monitored, particularly in this case, for the sake of his own safety also, because there is grave danger to his life. He is become a symbol of hatred of the entire society, and he may have to be transposed into some other place, and his name will not be disclosed, his identity will not be known. He will have to be facilitated into assimilation of the society and turning out to be a responsible citizen.
All right, Mr. Tulsi, but I'm afraid we are flat out of time right now, so we're going to have to leave it there just for the moment. Thank you all so much for having joined us. You've been watching The Big Fight. We'll be back again next week. Bye.